Welcome to the channel. Thank you everyone for tuning in. On today's video, we're going to be looking at the Proxima PX1692. I unboxed this watch a couple of weeks ago with a few different Proxima watches, which I've all but reviewed, and this is the last one. Now, with this particular watch, I've got very mixed feelings about this, and in order for me to explain that, I've got to give you a bit of a history on this one. So a number of months ago, Proxima did contact me, and as you know, I've been following Proxima for a long time. They do give me quite a few watches to review, so I have a bit of back and forth with them. Now, prior to releasing this, they sent me a picture of a sample, and they showed me the black dial version, which in fact had silver subdials, and that looked stunning in the pictures. And of course, I didn't see the side of the watch, etc. Just saw the face on. But when they actually released this, they released it with these two dial options, the cream and the black, with two different bezel options. So you got the ceramic and the stainless steel, which looks quite cool. However, they changed the silver subdials to black on the black dial, and they also added this blued seconds hand, which kind of threw me off. And also, when I actually received the watch in hand, looking at the pushers, they're not screw down pushers. So there's a couple of things which don't really sit well with me. So I'll be putting up specs and dimensions on screen for you guys, as I did cover them in the unboxing, and I'm just going to focus on this watch a little bit more. So I think let's start off with some of the negatives, some of the issues that you'll face with this watch if you do like it. And one of the main ones being is the movement. It's the Seagull ST1902 movement, and I think this is something they missed a trick. And San Martin also missed the same trick, is giving us a screw down crown on the ST1902 movement. Now, while there are a very few bunch of people that don't think that's an issue, you can work around it. I agree you can, but it's not a very precise way of working around it, because you'll have to work out how many exact winds it takes to one of the movement, and just leave the final 10 so you can screw down the crown. Because effectively this is a hand winding mechanical chronograph, and if you fully hand wind it, then you can't screw that crown down, and if you try to and you're too forceful with it, you might break the movement. So that's a bit of an issue for me. And is it enough to be a deal breaker? I'd say for the most part, yes, it is, because it can lead to a failure with the movement. This does need winding regularly. It's not, it doesn't have a power reserve as well, so you're always going to be in the dark guessing how many turns do I need to do before I can't screw it down. I think the second issue is that I've experienced just handling this watch is the pushers. Yeah, they're a bit too close to the crown, so your fingers are constantly hitting these edges. Now, the edges of these pushers, they seem slightly edgy, a bit sharp, so your finger is constantly touching, grazing that, and you're having to just awkwardly maneuver the crown into place. Second thing I want to move on to is the actual design. Now, while I really like the MM300 case, you guys can roughly tell what this watch is homaging. It's got a few design cues from the Speedmasters, from the Omega. You got the Seamaster style hands, etc. And I think the visuals look okay for the most part, but it's just the case. It's 13mm thick, and I don't know if it needs to be that thick. And maybe a different case would have suited a lot better. Something much thinner, because it's a bit thick, and I can see MM300 on that side profile. If I just show you my one, compare it. Obviously, it still looks different. It's not exactly the same, but you get what I mean. It's got the same type of finishing, fully polished, that brushed center. This one obviously comes with drill lugs, but this one doesn't, which I think would have been a nice touch. So yeah, I'm a bit, don't really know what to make of it. And also the bracelet, it is a solid bracelet. It's got solid end links, all solid links. It's actually a single piece. It's just got these two polished highlights on there, giving you a full 3-link look, but it is one complete piece. It uses split pins, so you get a bit of that squeak from the split pins. But aside from that, it is quite a solid and sturdy bracelet. Again, it's from the MM300 homage, as you can see on this one, which is very similar to the actual SPDX 001. So yeah, I don't know. I think something's off. And in my last review of Proxima watch, that CWC65 homage that I did say Proxima seem to suffer with this design element. They just sometimes just put something together and it just doesn't work. It seems quite off. But moving on to some of the good points about this watch, I think the execution, as I've always said it, and the actual QC of watches, the build quality is excellent as always, which is why it's such a shame with Proxima, and I get very often disheartened by them, because I know their potential. I know they can do so well. If you just have a look at that dial, enamel dial, off-white, you got the Proxima text printed. Not a huge fan of that. However, the handset is very well finished, very clean, sharp cuts. There's no smudges, no debris, no dirt. Excellent QC on this. The length of the hands are just perfect. And moving on to the chronograph pushers, The sound is great. I think it's one of the nicest pushers that I've experienced with the SD1901. Let's see if you can hear that. Yeah, it's a very nice firm click, and that is quite nice to press. Now also with the SD1902 movement, you've got that sub dial just above the 6, which is more of a visual thing rather than anything functional. As you guys know, it basically just emulates the hour. It's not like a 24-hour one, etc. So it's just on the dial. I think it would have been better if they just blanked that sub dial off and gave us like a Panda version. So there's a few things which don't sit quite right with myself on this one. As I said, the specs are there, the build quality is there, stainless steel, sapphire, 100 meters of water resistance, and one of the other downsides, which I don't know if I mentioned already, is obviously the pushers that don't screw down. So there's a bit of a shame on this watch. I think a few people have bought it and they've left perfect 5-star reviews because Proxima service is still great. They still send you pictures of the watch, regulated movement, etc. So you've got no worries there. So let's give you a quick look at the loom. The hour markers are loomed, and so is the handset. So let's have a look at that. And the loom used on this watch is that 14 loom C3. There's loads of it applied, considering you've got very slim batons. It does glow quite brightly. There's ample layering. There's no fading. Perfect color match between the hands and the actual batons. So I'm pleased with that. No shortcuts in the loom department on this one. Now this is the PX1692 on my 6.5 inch wrist, and it wears quite well considering the somewhat large dimensions. You've got 40mm case diameter, you've got 47.5mm lug to lug. With those male end links, it comes up to around 52.5. However, the slope is quite heavy on those end links, so the second link does actually touch your wrist. So it'll fit fine. I think the lug to lug isn't an issue here at all. Thickness, weight, etc. Yeah, it does feel heavy. It's around 190 grams. But it is fairly evenly spread out due to that heavy bracelet. And I gotta say, I think visually it does work to a certain degree. It's a nice visual. It's not a bad looking watch, but I think the couple of issues that I've mentioned just doesn't sit well for me, and it's something that you need to know about. Maybe it's not something that you'd be totally happy with if you do get it. Yes, there is a workaround with the SD1902 with the screw down crown, but it's not something you should have to do in my opinion. But yeah, the build quality is there, and you guys have seen they've upgraded these clasps. A lot of people do prefer the sterile look. I, however, think Proxima should logo them up or actually put their Proxima name on there. Case back is an owl, so that's a different animal. So we've seen they used to have a dolphin, then they went with some stingrays, and then they went with something else, I believe the unicorn, that's right, and then now some owls. So yeah, it's a bit, I don't understand that, and yeah, it does keep throwing me off. So that's it for this review. As you can tell, I'm quite unsure about this watch. There's some really nice things about it in terms of build quality. Just to summarize what I said, to reiterate it, you can't fault it at all. Great loom, all the specs are there. Heavy duty watch, made well, but it's going to be a design thing, and definitely if it's to your taste or not. So that's it from me today, guys. I hope you enjoyed that review. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.